It was Hall of Fame weekend in Greencastle.
Yes, it was.
So much Tiger pride, and we were there for all of it.
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
From Chris Auditorium to the Green Center.
Yeah, the energy was electric.
Electric. Even President White was there.
I know.
In a football jersey.
Yes, he was.
We're talking legendary athletes, inspiring stories.
Yes.
The kind of DePauw moments that stay with you
Right.
long after graduation.
Forever.
Okay, so first things first.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking specifically at the legacy of Coach Pat Gammon,
Okay.
who was a real force in women's tennis there.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be looking at her through the eyes of her players.
Okay.
So we've got Sandy Georgie, Turnman, Becky Hunter, Nancy Georgie, Ann Barr, and Carrie Mellon.
Wow, that's quite a lineup.
Yeah, so it should be a lot of fun, lots of great stories.
Sounds like it.
A little bit of team spirit sprinkled in, and maybe even, get this, legendary chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, I love a good chocolate chip cookie story.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, what's interesting to me is that we're also going to kind of get a picture of how the landscape of athletics at DePauw was shaped. Because the men's tennis coach, Scott Riggle, and the athletic director, Coach Mott, they really played a role in ensuring that women's sports were treated equally.
Right.
And that had a big impact on Coach Gammon's perspective on fairness in DePauw athletics.
Yeah, and what's really neat is that Pat's grandchildren, Robert and Carolyn, they attended DePauw camps.
Oh, wow.
And Alan and Jeanette Hill, who are DePauw grads, they're actually close family friends.
That's great.
So this is kind of a personal deep dive for them as well.
I love that.
But enough about connections. Let's get into it and set the scene a little bit.
Okay.
So imagine we're at the DePauw Hall of Fame event, and the energy is electric.
I can only imagine, I can practically hear the echoes of all the laughter and the chatter, from like the gathering beforehand.
Totally.
And then the walk to the Green Center,
Yep.
which they call the Alamo. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Because of how the building looks, and they even used the giant Alamo letters as stage props.
Oh, wow.
Talk about a grand entrance, right?
It's like history coming alive right in front of you.
Exactly.
So now picture this. Coach Gammon is taking the stage, and the room is buzzing with excitement.
Oh, yeah.
This is a moment of pure pride and recognition for her after dedicating years to shaping these athletes.
Her players must have just felt such a sense of pride in that moment, seeing their coach, their mentor being recognized like that.
For sure, absolutely. And Becky Hunter and Nancy Georgie, who are both Hall of Famers themselves, they gave speeches that really captured the essence of Coach Gammon.
Wonderful. What did they say?
Well, they didn't just talk about wins and losses.
Right.
They really emphasized her compassionate and empathetic coaching style, which was way ahead of its time back then.
Yeah, back then you didn't really see a lot of coaches taking that touchy-feely approach.
Exactly. But Coach Gammon, she genuinely cared for her players as people, not just as athletes.
That really speaks volumes about her character, her foresight.
Yeah.
It was more than just a game for her. She wanted to shape these well-rounded individuals.
Right. And we can't talk about DePauw tennis without talking about those infamous chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, the cookies, yes.
They were more than just a treat. They were a symbol of team bonding and Coach Gammon's love.
Oh.
Imagine, you're on those long van rides to those away matches.
Yeah.
Fueled by laughter, team spirit, and warm, gooey chocolate chip cookies.
I can almost taste them.
It's no wonder they became such a cherished tradition.
I bet those cookies probably powered quite a few victories.
I'm sure they did. But we can't forget about the individual journeys that led these players to DePauw and Coach Gammon in the first place.
Of course, of course.
So take Nancy Georgie, for example. She never really saw herself playing college sports at all.
Interesting.
And her dad, who was a Division I athlete himself,
Wow.
he actually encouraged her to focus on the overall college experience.
Okay.
But then she visited and she fell in love.
Oh, the campus charm got her.
It really did. It worked as magic.
Sometimes life has a funny way of working out like that.
It really does. Leads you right where you need to be.
Exactly.
And then we have Becky Hunter,
Oh.
who's actually from Greencastle.
Oh, wow.
Grew up knowing DePauw. Her mom was a huge fan of the university. And Becky was drawn to the strong academics there.
Makes sense.
So she decided to follow in her mom's footsteps.
It's like DePauw was woven into her destiny.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems like DePauw has this knack for drawing people in and creating this really strong sense of belonging.
It really does. It's more than just a university. It's a community, a family.
Absolutely. And this family spirit was never more evident than during the women's tennis team's victory against Notre Dame.
Oh, wow. That's got to be a good story.
Oh, it is. So picture this. A small liberal arts college going head-to-head with a powerhouse like Notre Dame.
David and Goliath.
Exactly. It was a total David and Goliath situation, and DePauw, they emerged victorious.
What?
It wasn't just a win, it was a statement.
Wow.
It was a testament to Coach Gammon's leadership and the team's unwavering belief in themselves.
That must have been such a boost for the program.
Oh, absolutely. And for the whole university, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of memorable moments, we can't overlook the impact of the men's tennis coach, Scott Riggle, right? His presence at the Hall of Fame event, particularly his speech, it was incredibly moving.
Yeah, he wasn't just a coach. This was a man battling Parkinson's disease.
Oh, wow.
And he faced it with such incredible courage and honesty.
You know, he didn't shy away from the difficulty of it at all.
No, he didn't.
He actually used tennis as a metaphor for life, didn't he?
He did. He taught his players about balance, adaptability, and focusing on what you can control.
Can you imagine being a young athlete, listening to your coach share such profound wisdom? It's like a life lesson in resilience, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And here's a twist. After he retired, Coach Riggle didn't just walk away from the court.
No.
No, he became a volunteer assistant.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, he found joy in observing the game from this new perspective and mentoring the young athletes.
He just couldn't stay away.
He just loved it. He couldn't stay away.
It's a real testament to his passion for the game.
It really is. His commitment to DePauw went beyond any official title or role. He was truly a pillar of that community.
Absolutely. And speaking of community,
Yeah.
the Hall of Fame event wasn't all serious speeches and reflection, right?
No.
There were also these moments of pure nostalgia,
Yeah.
especially when people started reminiscing about their favorite places in Greencastle.
Oh, the classic college town experience, right?
The best.
Imagine those post-practice gatherings at Mama Doan's, Marvin's, or the Double-Decker.
Oh, fueling up on burgers and fries and milkshakes.
Exactly, sharing stories and laughter. Those places hold a special place in the hearts of DePauw alumni.
For sure. Those memories are priceless.
They really are. And speaking of memories,
Yeah.
there were some hilarious anecdotes shared about the players themselves.
Oh, I love a good anecdote. Give me one.
All right, so John Cook,
Okay.
his freshman team, pulled off a shocking upset against a really tough opponent.
No way.
Yeah, it just goes to show that sometimes the underdog has its day.
You love to see it.
You really do. And then there's Amanda Steer-Jansen, the swimmer. She was determined to have her picture on Coach Mary's office wall.
Oh, I love that. Why?
Well, she actually struck a deal with her coach,
Oh, interesting.
promising to achieve a certain goal in exchange for that coveted spot on the wall.
That's great.
So it really shows that unique bond between coaches and athletes.
It really does. And it also highlights how coaches can be, more than just teachers, right? They're mentors, they're confidants, and sometimes even sources of amusement.
For sure. And speaking of remarkable athletes,
Yes.
we can't forget Leslie Dillon Valentine, the star cross-country runner.
Okay.
Not only did she lead the national race,
Wow.
but she was also known for her incredible teamwork and dedication.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she really embodied that true DePauw athletic spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Talent, hard work, and a deep commitment to her teammates.
And to top it all off, we have Becky Hunter's heartwarming gesture at the ceremony.
Oh, yeah.
She highlighted her former student, Ben Still, and expressed her hope that he would follow in her footsteps at DePauw.
That's amazing.
Talk about passing the torch. Right.
It really is. It's like watching that DePauw legacy unfold right before your eyes.
It is.
And it's so clear that the impact of these coaches and athletes extends way beyond their time on the court or the field.
For sure.
They've created this ripple effect that will continue to inspire future generations.
Absolutely. But here's a question for you.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about DePauw that cultivates such a strong sense of community and athletic excellence?
That's a really good question. Is it the coaches?
Maybe.
Is it the traditions?
Could be.
The overall atmosphere of the university?
Maybe it's a combination of all those things.
I think it's probably a combination.
Yeah, creating this kind of unique alchemy that makes DePauw special.
Right. And it's clear that Coach Gammon arrived at DePauw at a very pivotal moment in its history.
Okay, how so?
Well, remember how Pat Gammon's daughter revealed her mom's initial hesitation to coach there?
Yes.
She was concerned about the lack of fairness between the men's and women's programs.
That's a really important point because It reveals the challenges that female coaches and athletes faced back then.
Yeah, even at a progressive institution like DePauw.
Right, but thankfully there were people like Coach Riggle and Coach Mott who
Yeah.
were committed to changing that.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't just about words.
Yeah.
They took real concrete actions to make sure there was equality.
Yeah.
Whether that was advocating for equal resources or just fostering a culture of respect and fairness.
And, those actions really weren't lost on Coach Gammon.
So their efforts really did make a difference.
They did. It's a powerful example of how individuals can make a difference.
Yeah.
Not just through grand gestures, but through those consistent everyday actions that promote fairness and inclusion.
Right. And that had a ripple effect.
Yeah.
It created a more equitable environment for all the athletes that came after.
For generations,
Yeah.
for sure. But let's get back to Coach Gammon and her unique coaching style.
Okay.
Her players consistently highlight her ability to connect with them on a personal level, understanding their strengths, weaknesses, and aspirations.
So like Sandy Jorke, for example.
Yes, she was a talented player, but she struggled with consistency.
Okay.
Coach Gammon recognized her potential, but also her frustration.
So what did you do?
Well, instead of just pushing her harder,
Yeah.
she took a different approach.
Interesting.
She understood that sometimes the mental game is just as important as the physical one.
Right.
So she worked with Sandy on visualization techniques, helping her to develop a calmer and more focused mindset on the court.
Did it work?
It did. Sandy's game flourished.
Wonderful.
She became a key player for DePauw, proving that Coach Gammon's approach was about more than just winning matches.
It was about helping players become the best versions of themselves.
Exactly. And another great example was Karen Turnman.
Okay.
She was a naturally gifted athlete, but tended to shy away from leadership roles.
Interesting.
Coach Gammon saw her potential, not just as a player, but as a leader. So she strategically paired Karen with more vocal teammates during practice matches.
Oh, smart.
Yeah, encouraging her to communicate and strategize and take charge on the court.
How did that go?
Well, gradually, Karen blossomed into this confident leader,
That's great.
guiding her team with grace and determination, and she actually credits Coach Gammon with helping her discover a side of herself that she didn't even know existed.
It's amazing what a good coach can do.
It really is that these stories paint such a vivid picture of Coach Gammon's impact, reaching far beyond wins and losses. She really empowered her players to grow on and off the court.
And let's not forget those chocolate chip cookies that fueled those transformations.
Oh, right. Those cookies were legendary.
They're legendary.
It wasn't just the taste, it was the gesture.
The thought behind them.
Exactly. They were the symbol of
Yeah.
Coach Gammon's care.
Yeah.
Her way of creating this sense of family and tradition within the team.
It's amazing how something as simple as a cookie can become such a powerful symbol of connection.
It really is.
Like they were more than just treats. They were tokens of appreciation, motivation, and a reminder that Coach Gammon was always there for them.
Absolutely. And those cookies weren't just for the players either.
No?
They were for the fans, for their families, anyone who happened to be around.
That's wonderful.
And those warm, gooey treats, they became synonymous with DePauw women's tennis.
Oh, creating a sense of community that extended beyond the court.
Exactly. It was amazing. And speaking of community,
Yeah.
remember how Pat's grandchildren, Robert and Carolyn, they attended DePauw camps?
Yes!
It's like that DePauw magic runs in the family.
It does. It really does. And it's not just bloodlines either.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
about those shared values, that love for this special place.
For sure. And our friends Alan and Jeanette Hill, they chose DePauw for their college journey. And they've stayed connected ever since.
It's a real testament to DePauw's lasting impact on people's lives.
It really is. But let's shift gears for a moment
Okay.
and revisit that monumental victory against Notre Dame. What were the key factors that led to such an improbable win?
Well, I think for starters, Coach Gammon instilled a belief in her players that went beyond their perceived limitations.
Right.
They knew going into it that it was going to be tough, but they never doubted their ability to compete.
And that belief really translated into a fearless, aggressive style of play.
Yeah, they didn't back down from the challenge at all.
No, they embraced it.
They embraced it.
They played with fire in their hearts and a determination to prove that they belonged on that court.
On the same court as a powerhouse like Notre Dame.
Exactly. But it wasn't just about raw talent or grit.
No.
Coach Gammon also had a strategic mind.
Oh, of course.
She meticulously studied Notre Dame's playing style,
Wow.
identified their weaknesses, and devised a game plan that played to her team's
strengths. She did her homework.
She did her homework. She was prepared.
Smart.
She knew that her players were quicker and more agile
Okay.
than their Notre Dame counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
So she instructed them to play this fast-paced, aggressive game.
It's interesting.
You know, forcing their opponents to make errors, disrupting their rhythm, and it worked.
Wow.
The DePauw players were relentless, chasing down every ball, volleying with precision, and just keeping that pressure on Notre Dame.
What a game.
It was a masterclass in strategy and execution.
Sounds like it.
And it's a real testament to Coach Gammon's ability to outsmart her opponents and inspire her team to reach new heights.
That win was more than just a win, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It was a statement.
It was a statement.
That put DePauw women's tennis on the map.
Exactly. It inspired countless young athletes to dream big, regardless of their limitations.
It solidified Coach Gammon's legacy.
It really did. Her ability to combine that tactical brilliance with her genuine care for her players, that's what made her such an extraordinary coach.
And speaking of extraordinary,
Yes,
Coach Riggle's journey with Parkinson's is a testament to the human spirit.
it really is.
To overcome adversity, how did he manage to use his personal challenges to teach his players these valuable life lessons?
Well, he didn't shy away from his condition at all.
Yeah.
He was open and honest with his players,
Mm-hmm.
explaining the challenges he faced,
Right.
the strategies he used to cope.
Yeah.
He used tennis as a metaphor for life,
Beautiful.
emphasizing the importance of adapting to changing circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
finding balance, focusing on what you can control.
He didn't just talk the talk. He walked the walk.
He really did. Even as his physical abilities declined, he was a constant presence on the court,
Wow.
demonstrating this unwavering commitment to the sport and his players.
That's incredible.
His resilience became such a powerful inspiration, teaching them to persevere through challenges and find strength in vulnerability.
It's one thing to hear those lessons, but to see them in action like that.
Exactly. Imagine witnessing your coach, a man battling this illness, still finding joy and purpose in mentoring those young athletes.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's a lesson that goes way beyond the tennis court.
Way beyond, for sure. It reminds us that even in the face of adversity, we can choose hope and resilience and connection.
Absolutely. And you could see that connection in the bond that Coach Riggle shared with his players.
Yeah.
They weren't just athletes to him. They were individuals that he genuinely cared about.
There were people. Yeah.
And they cared about him too.
And they rallied around him,
Yeah.
offering support, encouragement, and just this deep respect for the way that he faced those challenges with grace and determination.
It's a beautiful reminder that sports can create communities of support that extend beyond the field.
Yeah, they foster empathy and compassion and this sense of shared humanity that helps us navigate all of life's ups and downs.
Exactly. Speaking of connections, let's go back to that unique bond between Coach Gammon and her players.
Okay.
What was it about her coaching style that fostered such lasting relationships?
Well, for one, she treated her players as individuals, not just cogs in a winning machine.
Right.
She took the time to get to know them, understand their aspirations, and support them both on and off the court.
Sounds like she was more than just a coach, almost like a mentor or a friend.
She really was.
Yeah.
And that genuine care was reflected in everything she did.
Like what?
From those personalized pep talks
Yeah.
to meticulously planned practices to those legendary chocolate chip cookies.
Of course, always the cookies.
Always the cookies. She created an environment where her players felt valued and respected and empowered to be their best selves.
That's so important.
It really is. And she wasn't afraid to be tough when necessary.
Yeah.
But that toughness was always balanced with kindness and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
She knew how to push her players to their limits while providing that support they needed to thrive.
It sounds like she struck the perfect balance
He really did.
between demanding excellence and creating a nurturing, supportive environment.
Yeah, and you could see that balance reflected in the success of her players, both on the court and in their lives beyond DePauw.
Speaking of life beyond DePauw, what about the impact that Coach Gammon had on their careers, their personal lives?
They went on to become doctors, lawyers, teachers, entrepreneurs,
Wow.
all contributing to society in these really meaningful ways.
That's fantastic.
And they credit Coach Gammon with instilling in them those values of hard work, perseverance, and the importance of giving back to their communities.
It's really amazing how a coach can have such a profound effect.
It really is.
Not just on athletic skills, but on their character, their values, and even their life trajectories.
Absolutely. It's a testament to her ability to inspire them to strive for excellence in all aspects of their lives.
But let's talk a bit about the challenges that women coaches faced in college athletics during that era.
Oh, it was a very different time.
It was.
Women coaches often faced discrimination.
Yeah.
They lacked resources. And there was just this general lack of respect compared to their male counterparts.
It's important to acknowledge those barriers.
It really is.
And recognize the courage it took for women like Coach Gammon to break through those barriers and pave the way for future generations.
They were pioneers.
They were.
Fighting for equality, not just for themselves,
Right.
but for all women in sports.
And their efforts, often met with resistance, gradually chipped away at those barriers.
They did. They created a more level playing field for female athletes and coaches.
And their legacy is still inspiring us today.
It is. We see more and more women taking on leadership roles in college athletics, breaking records, inspiring young athletes to dream big.
It shows that progress is possible.
It really does, even in the face of those deeply ingrained social norms.
But progress isn't always linear, is it?
It's not. There are still challenges,
Yeah,
still inequalities that need to be addressed.
for sure.
And it's up to all of us to continue advocating for fairness, inclusion, and equal opportunities for all athletes and coaches.
Absolutely. Well said. So, as we reflect on this deep dive into DePauw athletics, what stands out to you as the most significant takeaway? What's the one thing you'll remember about Coach Gammon and her impact?
For me, it's the power of human connection.
Oh,
Whether it was Coach Gammon's genuine care for her players, Coach Riggle's inspiring resilience, or the team's shared victories and traditions.
yeah.
It all comes back to those bonds we forge with each other.
Beautiful.
Those connections, they create meaning, purpose, a sense of belonging that transcends the court, the field, or even the university itself.
That's beautifully said. And it reminds us that sports are more than just games.
So much more.
They're vehicles for human connection, growth, and inspiration.